his screws loose, they done stripped the bolts on him. Should've never sent him to pick up the work for me. Sprayed the park and had my shit inside the car. Marcus Smart Boy was shooting with a 36 on him. Said if he wasn't in the rush, they was all goners. Tech cursive on the Jets, he was gonna Sean John him.
Hello and welcome to another edition of Chuddy's Corner. I'm Ben Handler, joined as always by my co-host, Nick Pereno. Nick, how's it going?
It's going really bad, Ben. Just terrible.
Nice.
We'll get to that.
Sounds good. I'm doing well as well.
Good.
So, obviously, we're gonna get into Celtics Nets in a minute here, but a little bit of housekeeping. You can find the Chuddy's Corner podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you get your podcasts. You can see the video cast on Vimeo, or of course on nickpereno.com. Also your home for any real estate needs. Go check us out, subscribe, give us a like, give us a review. Feel free to and send us any questions. Let us know what you think. You can also find us on Twitter. Nick is @_Nick Pereno, and I am @King Chuddy. That's Chuddy with 2 D's. Anyway, this could be our last podcast of the season. And I mean that to say our last podcast during the Celtics season. We will, of course, still be podcasting once it ends, but there is certainly a chance that by the next time we are coming to you, the Celtics 2020-2021 season will officially be over, as they currently trail 2-0 against the Brooklyn Nets. We're recording Friday at about 4 p.m. Game 3 is in a few hours tonight. Game 4 is on Sunday. The Chuddy's Corner team, Nick and I, will be in the building in the TD Garden for the first time this season on Sunday. So hopefully that'll be just in time to save the season. But if not, we'll at least have tried our best. So anyway, it's been a bit since our last recording. The season ended. The Celtics obviously were in the play-in game. We hosted the Washington Wizards. Played probably one of the better games the Celtics have faced all season. They were pretty locked in for the most part from the beginning. The effort was there on defense. Tatum went off for 50 points for the third time this season. The feelings were pretty strong. The vibes were pretty good. It was a big win for the Celts. Unfortunately, that was kind of short-lived, as that meant, of course, we had to face the Brooklyn Nets in the first round, looking for all the world to see like the best team in the NBA, the odds-on title favorites, finally healthy. The big three is all there. Game 1 last Saturday, went into Brooklyn, played pretty well for the most part. The Celtics led for a lot of the game. They were in it for almost the entire game. Maybe the best defense they've played all year, but again, there were just too many breakdowns on really the offensive side of the ball, struggled to score, only put up 94 points against what people have been saying is one of the worst defenses in the league all year. It certainly didn't look that way. Kind of fell back into a little ISO ball when things were going rough, and they just weren't getting points, and they really had no plan B. Brooklyn seemed like they started trying to take the game over, and in about a 4 to 5 minute stretch, they went from down by a few to up double digits, and that was that. Celtics made a little push at the end to make it look closer than it was, but all in all, it was an 11-point loss. And then game 2 on Tuesday night, sorry. Just rough. Started off all right, and then it was the Joe Harris show. And I think there was an 18-0 run in the first quarter, and that was really all she wrote. It got about over 30 for a while, and the final score honestly was probably close. The score was closer than the game actually was. So here we are, down 0-2, pretty big hole, coming back to the Garden with some fans. I mean, the old saying does go, a playoff game doesn't start until the home team loses a game. That hasn't happened yet, so hey. There's your silver lining. Nick, what do you got for me? We always start with takeaways. What can you even take away from the series so far?
I mean, there are some takeaways, but no good ones really. The first half of the first game I mean, I thought we played pretty well. I know we only scored 21 points in the first quarter, which obviously isn't going to cut it against this team. But, defense looked great. And I don't know if the defense was more attributed to Brooklyn just kind of coming out slow, considering their big threes only played so many minutes together, which I didn't really think that was going to matter. And ultimately, I don't think it did, but maybe for, 12 minutes. Second quarter, though, we didn't, even though, Brooklyn came out a little bit better on offense, we still maintained, went to the half with a lead. And then since then, it's just hasn't been good. Like, I don't know. We've barely even played a good quarter since then. Obviously, Brooklyn is a high-powered offense, and defense leaves something to be desired, to say the least. So the only way we're going to keep up with this team is by scoring. Without Jalen, it's easier said than done, but we still have some offensive threats, and they just didn't, it wasn't enough first two games.
Certainly wasn't.
So I don't know. There wasn't much really to take away for me, for positives. It was disheartening. Game 2 was just bad basketball.
Yeah.
And I mean, we can't score 40 points in the second half against the Brooklyn Nets in game 1 and expect to even be in the game. The fact that we held them to 104 is a miracle.
Well, yeah. That's
if that's the case, if we're holding them to 104, then we should win that game.
That's a game we got to win. Yeah, exactly. Right. And when you say there weren't any positives, like I think there were some positives. Like, again, I think for the most part, that was maybe the best defense the Celtics have played all year. Again, Brooklyn kind of took over the game with one stretch, but for the most part, like we looked like we actually knew what we were doing. I will say this, it showed that we had actually had some time off and time to practice. Like it looked like we knew what we were doing. There weren't as many breakdowns. Even the last game, obviously Brooklyn got hot and blew us out of the gym, but like overall, I didn't think the defense was that bad. It was really just our offense turning it over, letting the Nets get in transition. And then when they've got, the 3 best scorers in the world, or 3 of them, and then you cover that up and Joe Harris is wide open in the corner. It's almost like, well, what can you do? And then the guys get frustrated. It's like, I don't blame them. Brooklyn went on an 18-0 run in the span of like 2 minutes. So it's tough. And I think the guys are trying. If we want to start, we might as well start positive because there isn't much. Rob Williams, obviously a positive, almost getting a triple double in 23 minutes in his first in game 1. Truly a historic performance with 11, 9, and 9 blocks. And it looked as impressive as the stat line sounds. He was a difference maker when he was in there. But unfortunately, that is kind of the problem. He was only able to stay in the game for 23 minutes. He's battling that turf toe, obviously dealing with a lot of pain. At one point, it looked like he tweaked it again and came out. I just don't really think we're going to get much more out of him than that this series, unfortunately. But still nice to see him playing so well. And several of the Nets players commented on how much he kind of changed things when he was in there. And it's true. This is not a Tristan Thompson series. Like, unless they put DeAndre Jordan on the floor, which they're not going to do, it's just not a good matchup for Tristan. The Celtics are trying to switch everything. He's doing his best, but he can't cover these guys one-on-one on the perimeter. He just can't. And it's really not fair to ask him to. Rob, on the other hand, I thought even more impressive than any of his stats or the crazy blocks and whatever was that when he was getting switched onto the perimeter on James Harden, like one of the best isolation scorers in the world, he was keeping him in front of him. He stayed in front of Harden on the switch. He even blocked a couple 3-point attempts. Like that to me was probably the best thing I saw from any of the 2 games was that possession. But anyway, great takeaways from Rob overall. Those are the big positives. I thought Marcus played well in both games on both ends. And beyond that, there really isn't much at all. I thought Jabari Parker was actually decent in the first game, but I think that came to an end last game. Last game, it was like the Nets just made up their mind. You put bad defenders out, we're going to pick on them. They must hate Evan Fournier because at one point I think they got him matched up in an ISO. It seemed like for an entire quarter in a row until Fournier basically tried to like fight Durant because it seemed like it was getting personal or something. So yeah, I don't know. There just isn't a lot of firepower. Those are really the only positives I took away that, really like mean anything. Negatives, man, 2 brutal Tatum games. I mean, hard to pin anything on Tatum at this point. The amount of defensive attention he's getting is absurd, and he's obviously getting frustrated by it. He doesn't think he's getting calls. His shot wasn't falling. I thought in game 1, he did a good job of running the offense and getting other guys looks and still kind of creating when his shot wasn't falling. But in game 2, there was just not much going on at all. And then, of course, Kemba Walker. Just, I don't know what it is about this matchup, but he seems like he can't do anything against Kyrie. He sat out the whole year on back-to-backs. The idea was that he'd be, fully ramped up, ready to go in the playoffs. And so far, it just hasn't been there. So, again, you get the kind of performances out of Tatum and Walker that we've gotten in games 1 and 2, and you're just not going to win. Like we said going into the series, we would need Tatum to probably put up like 40 and Kemba to put up 25, and neither of them have obviously come anywhere close to those numbers. And yeah, I mean, I don't think the Brooklyn D is as bad as it was at some points in the season, but it's still, it shouldn't be shutting these guys down. Those two should at least be able to get their points. Hasn't been the case. So, I mean, again, with all those things happening, we really don't have much of a chance.
One thing that was slightly encouraging, obviously Robert Williams, but the bench sort of overall, I know the first game was, only 3 or 4 people even played, which is, typical in the playoffs, obviously. But,
right.
First game we got 25 from our bench players, which, isn't like anything crazy. But if we're going to get,
for us, that's not bad.
If we're going to get 25 off the bench, then, it should be a decent game because our starters should be the players that are going to, produce, expected where they're expected to score. And if we get 25 off the bench, that's a nice bonus, right. Especially when Brooklyn's bench, I think game 1, they only scored like 11 points. So, I mean, that's a, plus 14 off the bench. That's big.
Yeah.
Or it should have been.
For us, that's huge.
Yes,
no,
right. So that's just really disappointing that, that's all we got out of him.
Yeah. And what, Tatum didn't make a field goal the entire second half?
Yeah. So that was.
We're not going to win any games that way.
He came
without
out,
Jalen, at least. And I mean, Kemba hit 2 threes when the game was already over. But other than that, he didn't do anything either. Like, the Celtics just can't win right now if that's the case. Like, no chance. Doesn't even matter who we're playing. Nonetheless, this team.
Obviously, it was a lot of fun that first, half because everything looked good, and Tatum came out 3 for 3 with that quick 7 points. Ball was moving pretty well. So when that happened, it was like, all right, Tatum's going to score 50, and this is going to be a close game.
Right.
But then he proceeded to go 3 of 17 for the rest of the game. Obviously, no bucket second half. He had, 7 1-point shots. But
well,
going down the line 9 times is encouraging, but that's just obviously if you don't hit a shot, that's not, going to do it.
And well, like I said, I liked his approach in game 1, and I thought, obviously I wish his shots were falling, but I thought he did a good job of contributing in other ways. Like you said, I think he got to the line like 11 times, 9 times. I mean, he was still scoring some points. He seemed like he was making some good passes for other guys. So like I was encouraged by that. He seemed like he was playing the right way. But yeah, game 2, it seemed like the frustration caught up with him. Obviously he left with that eye injury. The game was over at that point. So it didn't really matter. Like I feel like he probably would have come back if we actually were in a competitive game, although that's just speculation on my part. But yeah, just like, again, without that, the Celtics just they don't have enough players. Like they don't have the talent. We can't overcome bad games from our best players against probably the best team in the NBA. I mean, we can't overcome bad games from our best players against average, mediocre teams. So we definitely can't do it against the Nets on the road in playoff games. And yeah, it showed like the Nets they have that on off switch, and we've seen it in both games. They flip the switch and the game is just over like that. And it's tough to watch. It's a helpless feeling to watch. And sadly, I think it's probably a pretty helpless feeling for the Celtics players out there. And like, it's hard to blame them. But I mean, I feel like the effort has been there, the intensity, like, I mean, especially in game one, the buy-in is there. Like I said, there were a lot of positives, but at a certain point, like the talent on the floor just catches up with you and there's not much you could do. What did you think of the lineups and rotations in game one? Were you surprised to see Jabari get the call over guys who have certainly been more involved, at least throughout the regular season?
I don't know. I mean, I guess obviously it's a surprise, but I guess I can kind of see why he's.
Well,
We
needed offense.
Length. Well, yeah, and we needed offense, and when he comes in, he's going to shoot the ball. He's going to try and score.
Played pretty well.
Yeah, and he did play well overall. I mean, 9 points is fine. I mean, played 21 minutes, which it's got to be his season high for us.
I don't even think he had played in like the last 8 games of the season. He had played like once in garbage time or when everyone sat, but otherwise he's basically been like end of the bench, DNP coach's decision.
Yeah. So he came in and he did his thing, and I guess it was the only surprising part was that it was so early in the first half, because that seemed like a move that you would make when we're not putting up points. And I mean, I guess we only scored 21 in the first quarter, but second quarter we didn't really struggle scoring, and you figure Jabari comes in when we need buckets or we need someone to take shots. So I mean, that was the only real surprising part, but they have some height, Brooklyn, and he's provides some length, especially with KD, and he's not a good defender, so I'm not saying they brought him in for defensive purposes, but at least when he puts his hand up, it's in KD's face as opposed to at his chest.
No, I mean, I thought he did all right on defense. Like he battled, he did
fine.
He got beat on a couple back cuts, but it wasn't like he was killing us out there. I mean, they were picking on whoever they wanted. They're picking on Kemba, they're picking on Fournier, they're picking on Tristan. Like it wasn't like he stuck out as like, oh my God, he's unplayable because of his defense. If anything, it was like he's one of the only guys who's actually giving us anything on offense.
Mm-hmm. No, I was very, I was happy to see. I think Jabari's had a tough run, injury wise, obviously. So I'd like to see him play well, and he did play well for us. But I don't know. I mean, Jabari having 9 points isn't really going to move the needle for us. So I don't know. I mean, the bench overall, I was happy with. I mean, the second half of game one, the best starter was -17 plus minus.
Yeah.
And that's obviously not going to cut it. Tatum was a -19 in 21 minutes.
I know. Tatum's been a plus minus monster for us all year. And both of these games, it's like, no, it doesn't matter.
No. Kemba -20 in 17 minutes. I mean, it's awful. I know plus minus isn't, the be all end all, but I mean, if your starters are -17 to -20 and a half, then that's
and it's not like we have, great players coming off the bench. Like usually our starters are the good part, and it's the bench that's disastrous with the plus minus.
So it was nice to see Robert Williams come out. I know he's not healthy, but he's playing through it, and he's playing hard. Obviously, he still has his vertical burst, but which is all he really needs. He needs to be able to move laterally, I guess. But as long as he can elevate, that's really the biggest part of his game. So I don't know. It's second half was hard to watch. First half was encouraging, so that's why it was kind of even more of a letdown. And like you said, the intensity, I guess, the energy was there for the most part in games 1 and 2.
Yeah,
so that's kind of even more disheartening. Is like we played hard and it looked like we were trying, and that we kind of knew what we were doing, and we couldn't even stay in the arena with them. So that's even more disheartening, really.
It is and it isn't. I mean, it's obviously disheartening when you're watching the game rooting for the Celtics, but I mean, at the same time, like, this is the team all year. And we don't have Jaylen Brown. We're a 7 seed, which feels about right with the guys we have right now. And again, we're playing probably the best team in the league that's at their best right now for like the first time all year. And we dropped 2 games on the road. Like this is, for all the people freaking out about the Celtics, it's like, this isn't the time to freak out. That, the people have been saying all year, this is who they are. And like, yeah, this is usually what happens in 2-7 matchups in the playoffs. When you play against a team that's better than you on the road, you're probably going to lose 2 games. So, it sucks. And obviously it's disheartening, but I can't say it's like shocking or disappointing, really.
I know. I know what you mean. We're not accustomed to it in Boston.
Yeah. Right.
And I mean, I know this year we shouldn't really be shocked by it, just considering, we have a full season as a sample size and we're sort of playing, consistently with how we played all year. But still, you still get caught up in like that first half. It's like, all right, this kind of looks like Celtics basketball. And it just, then it all kind of disappears and you're like, oh yeah, this is 2021.
Well, to me, the part that's disappointing is I guess just that there's like the offense breaks down and there's just nothing. Like game 2, they started Blake Griffin. It seemed, I want to say the first, I think 6, maybe at least 4. I think the first 6 possessions in a row, we ran a pick and roll with Blake. And it was like, then we just ISO'd Blake and it was like Tatum got a hoop. Then Fournier got a hoop. I think Kemba got a hoop. Marcus got a hoop. It was like, this is it. This is the way. And it seems super easy. And it's like, this is what we have to do. Punish bad matchups, seek it out every play and do it. And then it was like, we just stopped and then fell back into the ISO. And it's just Kemba dribbling for 10 seconds and then jumping back for a 3 that misses. And then the Nets are out in transition. And then we come down again and Tatum puts up a 3, long rebound, Nets are out in transition. And it's like, this is the playoffs, and I thought that was better in the first game. Like I actually thought Brad in the first game was really good. It seemed like, again, I mean, it showed that we had practiced I guess maybe more, it showed how much we didn't practice during the season, because it was like, oh, wow, we have a plan. We're connected on defense. Guys are actually executing switches. On offense, it was like we were running sets every time and getting good looks. I mean, they weren't falling, but it felt different, I guess, which in that sense, it was encouraging to me, just in a sense that, like, we've been trying to figure out exactly what the issues are all year. And like, does Brad know what he's doing? Does the team know what they're doing? So I guess it was comforting to at least see that, oh, okay, we've had a chance to practice. This looks a lot better. And again, I mean, we just didn't make shots. We scored 94 points. You're not going to beat the Nets, but like holding Brooklyn to what was it, 105? Again, like that's awesome for that team. Like you gotta consider that a huge success defensively. So I mean, it's just a shame we couldn't have stolen that one. And based on the way game 2 went, it's looking like that was probably our best shot to have like any real chance in the series.
The problem with our offense all year has been the ISO ball, and we've had stretches where we look really good offensively, we're moving the ball well, but we always resort to ISO ball at some point in every game.
Yeah.
And that obviously happened in this game. And we're not an ISO ball team. I mean, we don't have the players for it. I mean, Tatum obviously can play ISO. Well, Jaylen sometimes.
Tatum's really not, I mean, he's not great in the ISO. He's capable of doing it, but he's really never been that effective. It's the pick and roll game where our guys can dominate. And again, they always have at least one bad defender on the court, but it seems like we just, I don't know what it is. Like if it's the coaching or it's like, we don't have patience. Their offense gets going, and instead of running a good set, getting a mismatch and making sure we get a great look, it's like, we just don't have the patience for that. And we just fire up the first shot we can get. And that's, I mean, again, you're just not going to beat this team that way. You're just not, but all of those guys, I mean, Durant's fine defender. Harden is an underrated defender. He's not as bad as, some memes would lead you to believe in the past. He's fine, but like Irving is not a good defender. You can get, any of our Fournier, Tatum, Walker, any of those guys, Marcus can take him in the post, like seek out Kyrie on defense. If Blake Griffin's in there, seek him out on D, whatever you got to do. Like, again, Rob Williams was in there being guarded by Durant at one point. Like, make Durant work in the post. I know Rob's not like a back down post up scorer, but you just got to keep these guys honest. You got to make them work hard on defense. And I just don't know that when things go bad, it's like we resort back to this just like messy, discombobulated offense. And that's been our undoing in the first two games. I mean, again, I don't want to make it sound like it's some huge letdown, because if you asked me what I thought the series would be after two games, I would have said 2-0 Nets. Anyone would have. So in that sense, like, I can't get too mad, but yeah, and watching the game one, that was a winnable game. And yeah, it's just like the carryover is not there, possession to possession. We still have a hard time executing the way we have to for 48 minutes, which has been an issue all year, and it remains an issue. Again, I think the execution was better. I think the game plan was better. I think the effort, all that was definitely better, but it's just still not good enough, which we probably already knew that.
I think the Brooklyn's defense being, such a sieve, that whole narrative is a little bit overplayed. A little bit overrated, in my opinion, just because, obviously superstars during the regular season don't play defense generally. And they have three superstars who during the regular season, they're not going to, exert themselves and, play really hard on defense. They're going to score points. They're going to take the easy way. And I mean, it's not a knock on them. It's just what stars do.
Well, not even that. They just weren't even playing a lot.
Right. And they just weren't even playing a lot in general. So I think KD is a good defender. I think he's above average.
At his peak, he was a great defender. The question is how healthy, how athletic can he still be? Like, how much can he channel that? But yes, at his best, when he was in his prime of his prime, KD was like a borderline elite defender.
Right. And he's 7 feet tall, basically. He can move laterally. Obviously, you see it on offense. And he's just super long. So, I mean, he can, you might be able to get by him, if you're a smaller guard playing around the perimeter.
Yeah.
But
he's no slouch. It's not like he's a dinosaur and can't move. Like, he can recover and block shots with his length.
That's what I'm saying. His recovery is there because of his length, and he's quick. And then in the post, he can obviously block shots. I mean, we're not like a tall team by any means. So even if our bigs get it in the post, it's not like they have an easy little layup over the top of a smaller guy. He's gonna block the shot or attempt to block it.
Well, and we don't have the guys to exploit the matchup. Like, even if they have Durant guarding Tristan Thompson, I don't want to ISO Thompson in the post and have him like go on, like, fuck that. You know what I mean? I don't care who's guarding him. It's not ideal offense for the Celtics.
Yeah, you're right. We don't have anyone to exploit their post defense.
Yeah.
And then even, coming to Harden, like you said, he's underrated. He can obviously play in the post, so that's not really something we can take advantage of. You can definitely, if you have him on, if he has you on the perimeter, you should definitely at least, try and take it to the hoop or something. Drive and dish or whatever, because he'll let you by.
Yeah. Well, but again, I mean, I still think with Harden that most of the bad rep he gets on defense is from like falling asleep, lack of effort, losing his man off the ball, stuff like that. Like, when he's engaged and he can play defense. He's a good athlete. He's strong. He's big. Like, it's not like he is incapable of playing defense for any reason. It's more just been like an effort and, awareness type of situation.
That's my point.
The other thing with the Nets too, I mean, I think this year they've been playing different guys every game. They've been playing different lineups. They've been experimenting. It's all new players. It's a new coach. So it's all been kind of trying to get it right for the playoffs. Now the playoffs start. The playoffs are a different game. They've got their rotations locked down. They're only playing a few guys. And again, the way the NBA has gone lately in playoff basketball, you win with switching on defense. Like, nobody plays this drop coverage that you see all regular season with conventional centers protecting the rim. Like, that's just not how it goes. Almost everyone switches everything. The Nets have a team that's built to switch everything, and it doesn't look bad. So, I mean, I agree. Their defense is not nearly as bad as, some regular season metrics would convince you it is. When they put their best lineups out there and those guys are locked in, as they're obviously going to be at a playoff game, they're fine. I mean, they're not elite or a really good defense, but like considering they're a historically great offense, their defense is certainly good enough when it has to be.
Yeah, their defense is good enough for them to win games in the playoffs, which is, I think, what we've seen so far. And like you said, it's their defensive intensity has really been their biggest flaw, not their individual defenders. So Harden, like you said, he's big, athletic. He can play, at least average defense. And even Kyrie, I know he gets a lot of flack for his defense, but when he's trying hard, I mean, he's a smart player. He can play.
He's quick.
Some
he can
defense.
Stay in front of guys. Like, yeah, he's not like an automatic hoop when he's on defense. He's not great, but he's not.
Right.
If he's your worst defender, like that's not terrible. And again, they're putting like Blake out there, but not for real minutes. Like they got guys to bring in. Jeff Green is a really good and really versatile defender. Bruce Brown has been a really good, really versatile defender. Like Joe Harris is a very solid defender. He's not going to make mistakes. Claxton is an awesome defender who can switch everything. So it's like they've got the guys for every situation. They've got a luxury of talent to put around their big three, and kind of whatever the situation calls for, they can do. And they're like, obviously not too worried about us. So they're starting with Blake Griffin, and he's getting abused for 5 minutes. And then they're like, all right, whatever. They know that eventually they'll play bigger teams than us and guys who can do some stuff in the paint. So they don't want to keep these guys fresh and ready to go. But against us, this is still like, I think, a warm up for them for the most part, which, it is what it is.
Really sad.
It is.
Sad that it's come to
it
that,
is.
but...
And I mean, I wish Jalen was here so we could see what it would actually look like with a full squad. You lose a 25-game scorer and really good wing defender against this team, it's gonna hurt a lot, and it has. So yeah, I don't know what more can you take away from these games, really. I thought I was pleased with Neesmith's performance, at least in game one for sure. I thought Romeo looked decent in game two. Thoughts on Pritchard barely getting any run?
I don't know. It's not totally unexpected. The way he's been playing the second half of the year, which was not awful. It's just I don't think it's really he's really earned some serious playoff minutes. He's fine. It's just this. I don't think this is a great matchup for him. The guards are too good. He's not there defensively. I mean, he's not going to slow down Kyrie. Joe Harris is going to shoot over him. I think it's mostly defensive. But yeah, I mean, he's not ready for the playoffs right now. Yeah. The way he's been playing, maybe next year. But yeah, so I'm not super surprised by that.
No, it's hard to be. Anything else from the first two games? I mean, it feels like beating a dead horse almost. Everyone watched, everyone saw what happened. But like anything specific that was surprising or that's worth mentioning or disappointing, the opposite?
No, I think we've pretty much, or I've touched on pretty much everything from the first two games.
I like seeing, Fournier get a little chippy and call Durant a bitch. Wish we weren't down 30, but it's nice to see someone stick up for themselves.
Right.
Yeah. All right. Looking ahead, now we're back home. What are you expecting? What are you expecting to happen games 3 and 4? And what do you hope happens? What do the Celtics need to do? What can the Celtics do? Is there anything the Celtics can do?
There's things we can do to make it competitive, but maybe we have a shot to steal one at home. We get back in front of the crowd. Tatum goes off. I mean, I think the only way we make it competitive is by winning the big matchups. Tatum needs to at least match Durant, I think, offensively anyways, which probably is 35 to 40 points minimum.
Yeah, like I think Tatum and Kemba need to be around 60 or more combined to really have any chance.
Yeah. Tatum and Kemba need to at least match Durant and Kyrie to some extent, offensively, scoring wise. Which is possible. It's just
not easy.
far from guaranteed, especially Kemba. You got to hope Harden's shots aren't falling. Maybe he's obviously going to get to the line and he's going to get other people easy buckets. But if his step back three is a little off and he has a rough shooting night, that's ideal. Fournier outscored Joe Harris, I guess. I mean, there's ways to do it. And if our secondary players on the bench outscore Brooklyn again, then that's obviously we need all of that to happen. I think.
Yeah.
In order for it to be competitive, we got to look good defensively, but we're going to need to score 120 minimum to beat this team again.
Yeah.
So I mean, I think that's the only way we're going to make it competitive. I don't think we're going to win. Unfortunately, it's probably going to be a sweep, but I do have faith that there's a chance we can take one. Like, I'd say it probably would be tonight, if anything.
Okay.
Coming home. I'm not, I wouldn't put money on it, but if we were going to win one, I'd say it'd probably be tonight.
So your prediction, though, would be a sweep.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's
I hate to say it.
know.
I can't believe I'm predicting the Celtics sweep.
It's hard to
games
argue.
into the series, but
I mean, the one thing is, like, we've seen a million playoff games where or playoff series where the home team wins the first two games and it seems like a complete mismatch, and then the other team, they go to the other place and it's like a whole new series. We've seen that plenty of times. So yeah, I think like what you said, I mean, it seems silly to even try to give like analysis here for what needs to happen, because basically all of the Celtics need to play their best, and even then the Nets probably have to be a little bit off. The crowd has to be lights out and kind of carry us. Like, we got to get out to a hot start, get the crowd involved, play from ahead, and play tough. Get up in their faces. Don't be intimidated by the Nets. Don't let them do whatever they want. Knock them down. Like, we have nothing to lose at this point. Go out there fighting. Show some pride. Whatever happens, happens. Like I said, nobody's expecting anything at this point. Playing with house money. So let's just give it our best shot. And if things break right, like in our building, we absolutely have a chance. But it's not a great chance.
I like what you said too about trying to, push them around a little bit, because they're not like a tough team, mentally or physically, really. I mean, pretty much straight through the whole lineup. I mean, but especially the three, their big three. I mean, Kyrie's not a tough guy. Harden's not a tough guy. Durant, not really a tough guy either. I mean,
I think it's interesting. Like, I think Durant is a guy who early in his career, a lot of vets thought, like, this guy's soft. We can get in his head. We can mess with him. We can punk him. And it worked. And I think obviously Durant is amazing, and he worked on that. And now he's kind of become that. And it's like the tables have turned, and it seems like that's almost what he's doing to Tatum. Like, especially in game one, he was roughing up Tatum. I think he was frustrating him, getting him off his game. And it kind of felt like, oh, wow, like the roles are reversed. Like, I remember Kobe doing that a lot to Durant early in his career. It was like he was just like, I'm older than you. I'm better than you. I've been here before. I'm not going to take your shit. And now Durant's doing that. So, I mean, I wouldn't call them like tough necessarily, but I mean, they're certainly not soft either. But like you said, they're not a big team. They're not particularly like physical or aggressive. So, I think if you get in their face and, let's punch them first and see how they react, basically.
Kyrie and Harden, I think, can be thrown off mentally. To some extent.
In the past, we've seen it. The question is just, with Durant's presence there, will it be different? Because Harden, when it's Harden, he's been like the guy. Now he's not. I mean, it's still Durant's team. We can argue about who's the best player, who's the most important, whatever. But like, Durant is the guy. He's been the Finals MVP twice. He came here. He's the one that made it happen. Like, he's the clear alpha, I think, of that big three. So they take their cues from him, and I think that's obviously helping them, because Kyrie and Harden, when they were the guy, it didn't go quite so great. And I think they were guys who you could kind of mess with. Now, I don't know. I mean, again, I'd like to see us try, because we have nothing to lose. It can't hurt. Worst case, that it makes them angry. They respond and blow us out. Like, whatever, that could easily happen anyway. So let's take our chances.
Pushing them around could either go horribly wrong or slightly right. because like you said, if they all follow the mindset that Durant has and his mental toughness, and he's more of like
Yeah.
he's not going to get thrown off. So if everyone else sees him kind of just staying steady and playing up to the moment, which he always does, and that could obviously trickle down, which it
Yeah.
probably will.
Right.
And I'm not saying pushing him around has a high level of success, or I'm not really like I wouldn't count on it, but that's
Let's try
probably
it.
our only shot. Yeah,
We got to try everything, right? Like we're emptying the clip these next 2 games because that's it. That's the season. So
worst case, it makes them mad and they come back and blow us out.
Right.
And in
Best
which case,
case,
we
they
probably
get a
would
little
have gotten blown out. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, exactly. What we're doing now isn't working. So we might as well try and muck things up, make them play with us in the mud. If they come out of it, hey, so be it. They're probably en route to a championship, or at least certainly in the mix for one. So we'll do our best to try to stop them. But yeah, I mean, beyond that, it's fairly straightforward. Our best players have to play a lot better.
Yeah. And that's, I mean, I know it's kind of simplistic to say, but our players need to beat their best players. Straight up and down the board. And I mean, it's easier said than done, but that's the only way we're gonna have a shot. Because I mean, even if the three, Harden, KD, and Kyrie, even if they're a little bit off, they're not all gonna be terrible, and they're gonna be able to score. They're still gonna score 120 points. So.
And it's like, you can only hold these guys down for so long because we kind of saw it in the first game. They were all struggling, but then they wake up and it was like Kyrie hit like 5 shots in a row. And it's like, oh, okay, well, there you go. So
being able to sustain Brooklyn's runs is huge.
Right. Yeah.
And I mean, you can only win by sustaining it because they're going to go on like a 10-0 run at some point.
And you got to push back. And I think Brad even made the quote. He said they're going to go on runs. He's like, we just have to make sure that instead of 9-0, 12-0, it's, 12-6.
Yeah.
We got to push back. They're going to make runs no matter what. Yeah. Look at the players they have. But we can't just sit and watch and be in awe of their brilliance and, again, not punching back. We got to counter.
Yeah. I mean, we got to do something. I don't want to go out like this.
No, I wouldn't like to. But, I mean, again, I think the effort was there. Like I said, last game got ugly fast, but I didn't think it was like a lack of effort or motivation or commitment. We just got overmatched almost from the go. But even having said that, like I think the defense looks much better than it did at any point in the regular season. We're switching. There aren't nearly as many breakdowns and just easy baskets or guys throwing their arm ups like So that's something. I mean, again, that is a low bar because that should just be obvious for the playoffs, but it's still, I guess, nice to see after what we've been watching all year.
Yeah. So I don't know. I mean, I think those are my only keys to success, really. Just, give me a win at home. If you give me a win at home, I can at least go into the off season, but like we tried. It wasn't our year, but at least we went down swinging, sort of. So that's all I'm really looking for.
Yeah, that's fair. All right, a few questions for you.
Okay.
First question. Healthy Jaylen Brown. How different do things look?
A little different. Not much. I mean,
No.
I don't want to say. I mean, obviously the team would look different. I don't think the outcome would really look much different. It might look a little better. Obviously, we'd have one more, 25-point score on the team. So in theory, we'd be able to keep up a little more. But I just don't think, even at full strength, this team is designed to keep up with Brooklyn.
What team is?
Nobody is.
That was kind of my next question. Do you have anyone beating Brooklyn, or is this like? It feels bad right now as a Celtics fan, but are they just going to do this to everyone and we'll look back and be like, oh, we gave them as good a fight as anyone?
Yeah, I mean in the East, I mean I can't see I don't think they could beat Philly. I don't know what the matchups would be.
You mean you don't think Philly could beat them?
I mean, yeah, I don't think Philly could beat them. I don't know would they play Philly or would they play?
It'd be Milwaukee next.
Okay,
which I think I think that'll basically be the East Finals, essentially.
Yes. Yeah. So I think I think Milwaukee can beat them. I think they have a pretty good matchup. With obviously KD and Giannis. If Giannis can actually, at least, put some sort of resistance on KD. And
I don't know. I don't know how they'll do it. Well, yeah. I mean, I guess Giannis will probably be on KD. It'll be interesting. But
I think they would have to. I mean, I think you have to do that if you want to beat the Nets personally.
Maybe it's hard to say. I mean, Holiday's huge. Holiday can guard Harden or Kyrie probably too, as well as most anyone in the league. Middleton is a solid defender. I wouldn't be surprised if he gets the first crack at Durant. I don't know. That should be a good series. But yeah, I mean, for the most part, I think the Nets. They're just really damn good.
Yeah. So Milwaukee's the only real shot to take them down, but I don't think anyone can keep up with them. Like we touched on before, they're a better defensive team than they were in the regular season. Milwaukee, like we said, has the tools, but ultimately, I think there's just too much firepower on the Nets. And for the West, I mean, I think the Lakers at full strength can still beat them. Because I think, similar to the Giannis thing, I think AD can, at least maybe slow down KD to some extent. LeBron's LeBron. Kyrie will probably, piss his pants when he's going up against LeBron. So I don't know. I think a full strength Lakers team can beat them. I don't know if they are full strength. I mean, AD hasn't looked great.
Well, he's looked pretty damn good the last two games, but
yeah.
I mean, I don't think they're 100%, but I think they're rounding into form pretty quickly. It seems like the rest of the West is shaking out in a way that's really good for the Lakers. So, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if by the time they get to the finals, potentially they're operating at pretty much full strength.
Yeah. So that's my only fear. Because I mean, Brooklyn Lakers finals, that's a lose-lose situation for us. So I don't know. I'm hoping somebody knocks off the Lakers and Milwaukee finally makes it to the finals because,
Yeah, I feel myself
Milwaukee
becoming a huge Milwaukee fan because
I
think they're our best chance to beat any of the teams we hate.
Right.
Like I was mapping it out the other day. If they beat Miami, then Brooklyn, then Philly, then the Lakers.
Yeah.
Like, I think those are my 4 least favorite teams in the NBA. They could take them out consecutively.
I'm probably buying Giannis.
I'll convert to Greek Orthodox.
Yeah.
But yeah, I went in thinking it's very wide open, and now I'm thinking, oh God, it's gonna be the Lakers and the Nets, and this is gonna be miserable.
I mean, in that matchup, who are you rooting for?
I would have to root for the Nets, as much as I hate to say it.
Wow.
The thing about the Nets is, like, personally, at least, I mean, I have no vitriol towards the actual organization. Like, I don't care about the Brooklyn, New Jersey Nets, whatever. I like Nash, I've been a Steve Nash guy. Like, that's fine. I've always liked Harden, as you know. And I mean, other than hating the decision to go to the Warriors, I've always liked Durant too. So with the Nets, it's really just Kyrie that I can't bring myself to root for. But if he wasn't on the team, I wouldn't even really hate them. It's more just the super team and the way they go about it, and all of Kyrie's quotes about, history probably won't even appreciate what we did until years later. And it's like, dude, you just like planned to team up with other superstars and, whatever. I don't know. What about you? You're not. I know you're a little more anti Durant and Harden than I am, but
I'm actually not. No, I'm not super anti Durant, to be honest. And Harden, it's not like I never disliked him. It's just I just didn't think he could be the guy on a championship team.
Yeah.
And I mean, I know maybe he just didn't get the chance, but I just didn't think he was built for that. His game is built for that. He's obviously unbelievable scorer. KD said the wrong things, I think, sometimes with his whole move to Golden State, but he wanted to win. I mean, it's hard to blame people for wanting to win. Obviously, he would
bad optics.
Yeah, he would be a legend if he stayed in OKC and continue to try and build something there. But He wanted to win. He went to that an already championship caliber team.
Yeah.
And was the best player on that team for 3 years.
Well, right. That's the thing is like he made the decision. It was annoying. It kind of made basketball annoying for a few years, but he went there. They dominated. He got the finals MVP back-to-back years. So it's like,
it worked
all
out.
Right. He did what he did. And now
he was ready to go start his own thing. Yeah.
And I mean, the thing with Irving too, I've never liked Kyrie going all the way back to his Duke days. I didn't like him on the Cavs. I didn't even really like him on the Celtics. I definitely don't like him on the Nets. But, as much as everyone wants to dump on Kyrie and hates all this stuff, he could have gone about things a lot more gracefully. That's probably an understatement. But he came to Boston to be the number one guy. And I think everyone realized pretty quickly he's not built to be that number one guy. He realized it clearly because he didn't want to do it. He left and linked up with two players who are better than him. And again, as much as I want to get mad at Irving, he inarguably put himself in a much better position, for his career and to win. So hate on it all you want, but he kind of made the right move, at least for him. Again, he kind of screw the Celtics? Yeah, but maybe the Celtics shouldn't have put all their eggs in the basket of a guy who we never knew wanted to be here in the first place. He didn't need to go in front of the crowd and say, I want to be a Celtic for life. I want my jersey retired, all that stuff. And again, who knows how sincere that was. Maybe he meant it at the time and changed his mind, or maybe he didn't, but whatever. The past is the past. Like I said, I'm certainly not going to root for the guy, but I don't think my hatred is on the level of some other people. It is what it is. He came to Boston and he failed and he left. And so far it's working out great for him.
Yeah. I mean, it's obviously, it's not hard to hate Kyrie, the person, but if you just take the basketball, if you take everything other than the basketball out of it, player. I mean, he's really fun to watch.
Yeah, absolutely.
Offensively, obviously. So, I mean, even watching him, when we're playing these games at the Celtics, he'll have some, he'll hit some shots and I'm like, wow, that's amazing.
Oh yeah.
I still get impressed by some of his shots and
it's hard not to.
Some of his buckets. So they're fun to watch. If you take out the personal aspect of it. So, I mean, honestly, if Kyrie wasn't on this team, I think they'd be pretty likable.
That's what I'm saying.
Obviously, that's a big if because I mean he basically built this team. I guess I mean him and KD they built it. So if you replace him with I don't know Chris Paul or something, I mean that's a pretty likable team. That would be a fun team.
Kyrie is one of my least favorite players in the league, and Chris is one of my favorites. So yeah, that would be a major difference for me. But yeah, I mean, I get the point. Other than him, none of those guys are really hateable, and I don't even know that Kyrie is that hateable, other than to Celtics fans. Celtics fans have a lot of obvious reasons to hate him. But I mean, it's just basketball hate. I don't hate him as a person. Like I said, he made decisions that are already proven to be the right decision for him, his life, his family, whatever. He's happy. So, I mean, anyone sitting here being all crusty about it is whatever. Be happy that our young guys got so good that he was intimidated and left, or whatever the spin is. I don't know. I think it screwed us, and the longer Celtics fans and front office and players and whoever sit and dwell on it, the Celtics just need to move on from the whole Kyrie fiasco. And yeah, it's hard when we're playing them right now, but I don't know. I think in the grand scheme of things, the faster we kind of accept and turn the page, the better.
Yeah, I mean, I think going back to the potential final matchup, I mean, the moral of the story is two teams that went to new teams with other superstars are going to be most likely going to be in the finals.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you're not seeing a lot of these homegrown teams really, get to the finals and win championships anymore.
Well, let's see what happens with Philly. I mean, Philly's still the 1 seed, and they haven't lost a game yet. And, that's at least their 2 best players are homegrown draft guys from the process. So,
yeah,
I don't want to rule them out. I think, you watch Philly play and their flaws are more obvious, kind of, especially on offense, because it doesn't always look so pretty. But they certainly play a lot better defense than Brooklyn, so I don't want to just completely discount Philly either. But yeah, it's at this point, you put a gun to my head, I'm taking the Nets.
Yeah, so we'll see how it plays out, but
Yeah,
not a lot to look forward to for the remaining of the playoffs for the Celtics fans.
probably not. My next question for you is like, how much of from what you've seen from the 2 games of the Celtics series and from the rest of the playoffs, do you think it would make a difference if we had drawn one of the other top 3 teams? Like, do you think we would have more of a fighting chance, like playing from what we've seen against like Milwaukee or Philly, or are we getting swept by any of them? It doesn't matter.
No, I think we definitely have a better shot against one of the other teams. I mean, I know we didn't have. I mean, did we even win a game against Philly this year?
Well, no, but I don't think we ever played them anywhere close to full strength, which isn't
but
saying
either
much
way,
because we've never been full strength against anyone. But yeah,
either way, I still think we know how to play Philly. I mean, we've beaten them in the past. If we were, well, I mean, I guess that's a big if we were full strength. But even this current team playing against Philly, I think we could put up some resistance.
Yeah.
We could. I think we should win a game, maybe 2. I don't think it's going to be like. I don't really think we have a shot to win it, but I think we'd have more of a shot. Milwaukee, same sort of thing. I mean, we've beaten them in the past. It's been pretty even matchups with both those teams the last couple of years. I mean, so historically, but I would expect to win, a game against Milwaukee and then maybe 2. So I think expect to win 1, maybe win 2 against either of those teams.
Gotcha.
When Brooklyn, it's like we hope to win 1, I guess. I mean,
yeah.
Especially now.
No, I'm in about the same boat. And I mean, we played really well against Milwaukee this year, but they're a team that they look like they've cranked it up to another notch in the playoffs. But yeah, I mean, I'm pretty much with you. I don't see us beating any of those 3 in a series. It would have been nice to have maybe a little bit of a better matchup against Philly or Milwaukee. But at the end of the day, yeah, we're probably losing in 5, maybe 6. So then I guess the other question would be, since, we kind of had our chance to move up late in the year and didn't, and fell into this unfortunate predicament where we obviously had to go through the play-in, this, that, and the other. Looking at, especially, I guess, it's hard to tell much from Miami because they're getting boat raced by Milwaukee. But if we had made a push and gotten into that 4-5 and drawn one of like the Knicks, Hawks, or Heat, do you think that's a series this team could win, or has that dream even sailed?
No, we could. I think we would win that series.
Against who? Any of those 3, or?
I would expect to win the series against any of those 3. The Heat scare me more than the other 2. Whether that be justified or not, but yeah, I mean, I know the Hawks and the Knicks have looked good at points this year.
Fun series.
Overall, they had good seasons. It's a good series, but I still think we're a more experienced playoff team in theory, even without Jalen. They would be, they'd probably go 6 or 7, but I think we would win that first round if we drew any of those 3 teams.
Yeah, I actually agree with you. So that's one of the things too, where I think, just the negativity, it's been there. Obviously it's a Boston issue. It's a Celtics issue. It's been there all year. But I mean, the way it's coming out now is if the way, to listen to the Boston media talk about these games, you'd think that we were favored to beat the Nets. And it's like, we're just overmatched. Things have gone shitty all year. We're overmatched. They are healthier than us. Like, we don't have a shot. But I'm with you. Like, I was encouraged again by the way we showed up in the Washington game, and at least in game 1 against Brooklyn. And yeah, I think in a playoff series against the Knicks or the Hawks, I think I'd like our chances still, in the Heat too, for that matter. Tibbs and McMillan in the playoffs, I'll take my chances with Stevens over either of them. Spo, not so much. But again, I mean, the Heat, with every game that's played, it's looking like the bubble was, they call lightning in a bottle more and more. So yeah, I still feel like at the end of the day, even without Jalen, we're like the 4th, 5th, or 6th best team in the East, which, whoop-de-doo, doesn't mean shit. But I guess I don't really feel any worse than I did going into the playoffs or at any point during the season for what that counts for.
Yeah, and I mean, nothing so far unexpected has happened. I mean,
Right.
We probably assumed this was going to happen against Brooklyn. Maybe even played a little bit better game one. So yeah, I mean, obviously, if we played one of those other teams and won the first round, I mean, things would feel way different. But they would have felt different early in the year because we would have been winning more games. We would have a higher seed. So I mean, sort of like a butterfly effect. So I mean, if you just take this team the way we played the season and put us in the 4 or 5 seed, then it would still probably be probably come out of it feeling better because we won a series. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, it doesn't really matter. Maybe. I mean, maybe. Because I mean, if you go in the off season, saying we won a round and then next round you get smoked by Brooklyn.
No, it's definitely a different feel. If these same exact first 2 games had played out, but this was the second round, you'd think there would be a lot more positivity. Which again, is that reasonable? So, not really. But
no, it's just optics. But it is what it is, and let's get this over
I know.
with.
I hate to say it, but I haven't felt this way going into Celtics playoff games in a long time, where it's like I'm almost just dreading it, and then looking forward to the other games. But it's been that kind of year, no doubt about it. Last thing, unless you got anything else, but we'll obviously have lots of opportunities, probably sooner than later, to go into all our different offseason previews and this and that. But anything that you've seen, at least in these first 2 games of the playoffs, that has changed how you feel about this offseason, or anything that's jumped out as like, okay, we have to do this, we can't do this, etc., or still kind of the same stuff we've been talking about all year?
It's all the same, I think. I think our weaknesses are the same weaknesses we had all year. We don't have enough. We need veterans. We need solid veterans, even if it's just coming off the bench. We're just too young to be really a competitive team. I mean, you look at we've been to the Eastern Conference Finals, however many of them, 3 times. We had Kyrie, we had Hayward, we had Al Horford. I mean, we're having really good players, veteran players, get stripped away every year, and we're not replacing them. And I think that's really the problem. Is we need to.
In fairness, those guys weren't playing in any of our playoff runs anyway. But I get your point.
Well,
Al, no, I mean Kyrie.
But I'm just saying. No. I'm not saying like the playoff runs in general. I'm saying for roster construction,
it was more. It's like a Mook Morris type off the bench. Who, I mean, Mook has his flaws, but it's nice to have a guy like that on the bench. And I think, we thought that Jeff Teague and Tristan Thompson would be those guys, and that hasn't exactly worked out so well. But that's another story. The one thing to me, I guess, the one last point I had, and then I'll wrap it up, was that, again, the reason we were kind of suffering so much through this regular season was this whole rest program for Kemba, that he's not going to play the back-to-backs, which, was crippling to our regular season record and all that. And the whole idea is like, okay, in the playoffs, we're going to see a ramped up Kemba. We're going to see full aggression. He's going to have plenty of rest. He's going to be healthy. We're going to see everything that we want to see. And it was looking pretty good down the stretch in the regular season. I was actually getting fairly optimistic that would be the case, but through 2 games, like, he looks just as bad as he really has at any point. I don't see any difference with the extra rest. And it's I think something that we as Celtics fans have talked about and probably seen the writing on the wall with Kemba, but I think now more than ever, like, I think this is just who he is. It sucks, but like, the old Kemba that's all-star level is long gone. And I think if he doesn't come on like really strong here in these next few playoff games, that's going to be like the number one thing this offseason. What are we doing with Kemba? And again, if he goes out the way he has these last 2 games, what are we going to do with Kemba is probably going to be more like, okay, what can we even get for Kemba? And it might end up being like largely a salary dump. Don't worry, I've got about 75 Kemba trades drafted up that we will get to whenever the offseason begins. So I don't want to go too deep into that. But to me, that I was like kind of hoping that all the resting plan we've done all year would culminate in seeing like the best version of Kemba in the playoffs we'll take the training wheels off and he'll be a full go and he'll look like the old Kemba. And it's been pretty much the opposite so far. So that's been, I guess, probably the most revelatory takeaway other than maybe Rob's, 9 blocks.
Yeah. I don't know.
Is that too harsh?
I guess that it hasn't changed enough. It hasn't been different enough these first 2 games for me to really change how I felt. I guess it sort of just reinforced what we've been saying for the last year, this whole season. So I don't know. I mean, it is kind of disappointing to get to this point finally and be like, maybe this is when he's going to break out, and he doesn't. But I wasn't expecting.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I kind of was expecting it again with the way that we've been saving him all, babying him all year to get to this point, and I think the last few weeks, it looked like it was happening again. I think for the last month of the season, he was averaging over 25 a game, and now no Jalen. So it's like, all right, you got the opportunity. You should be fully healthy. You should be rested. Like, if not now, when? And if anything, it's like he's taking a step back in these first 2 games. So maybe that's my fault for believing. But again, he looked good down the stretch of the regular season. He looked very close to the old Kemba, and I don't know. It's not like they are throwing elite defenders at him, certainly. So,
no, not throwing elite defenders at him, but you get to the playoffs, and people start playing defense.
Yeah,
start playing harder.
But still, okay. So then, if this is the best he can give with Kyrie Irving trying hard against him on defense, then it's like, yeah, this isn't going to work. And the sooner we change it, the better, good. Basically. So. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Sucks. I was really hoping he'd come out and put on a show and we'd all be like, okay, it was all the miserable back-to-backs without Kemba that we suffered through were worth it because we got this version of Kemba. And so far it's been like, well, what the fuck? We should have just been playing him on the back-to-backs and trying to win more games and have a better record if this is the end result.
Yeah. No, I mean, that's a good way to look at it. Well, I don't even want to think about that. I'm too upset already.
Yeah. Well, like I said, it's probably gonna be a long off season with a lot of different things to get into. But yeah, anything else on the here and now on the 2 games we've seen on the next at least 2, hopefully more games of this Celtics season?
No. We've pretty much hit on it all. It's going to be interesting to see what the Garden looks like at full capacity on Sunday.
Full-ish, right?
It's not going to be full? I thought it was going to be full on Sunday.
Full?
I thought so. I don't know.
Either way. I know it's way more full. I don't know.
Full-ish.
I mean, like, is Madison Square full? Because I watched the games. It looks full. But
I think some arenas are full, but I don't know. I'll look at this one, but
either way, I know tonight's game is like 5,000 fans, and then I think Sunday is up to like almost 15,000. So
the crowd tonight should be pretty electric, even if it's 5,000 or so people.
I mean, 5,000 Boston fans should be louder than 30,000 Nets fans.
Right. And then Chuddy's Corner will be at the game Sunday, so we can report back. So I just want to see how this team responds at home. I want to see, what the crowd's going to look like. I think the crowd pretty much always shows up.
Yeah. At this point, we're playing for pride. Let's see what these guys are made of. Let's go down swinging. Let's not go down without a fight. Like, let's at least like just aggravate these guys and not just be like something for them to slide out of the way onto the next thing. Mm-hmm. That's all I want to see. make me proud to be a fan.
Yeah, and just make me not miserable to be a fan.
That's where we're at. Makes me not miserable.
Right.
I think that says it all.
Yeah, that's the season.
All right. Well, there it is. So again, Celts game 3 tonight, hosting the Nets. And then if not for a win, then we could be quickly looking at the end of the season. Either way, we'll be back next week to, either wrap up the season or hopefully talk about, how the rest of the Brooklyn series will play out. But either way, rain or shine, the Chuddy's Corner boys will be back to bring you the latest on whatever's happening with the Celtics. For Nick, I'm Ben. Thanks for joining us as always on Chuddy's Corner. Have a great Memorial Day weekend, Chuddy heads, and go Celtics.
Should've never sent him to pick up the work for me. Sprayed the park and had my shit inside the car. Marcus Smart boy was shooting with a 36 on him. Said if he wasn't in a rush, they was all goners. Tech cursive on the Jets, he was gonna Sean John him. They was sleeping on the guard, then it dawned on him.